消えてしまったから。あの日、あのお方と出会うまでは。
お前が新しい婚約者か。工藤家当主。工藤。
Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our channel Paws On Animation and another Paws on Netflix.
Today we're covering the new anime on Netflix that just finished its first season,
Yes.
My Happy Marriage.
Yes, and this fantastic, romantic, supernatural fantasy series follows a young woman who's being married off to an unknown suitor after failing to show spiritual powers.
But before we start with that, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notifications on future podcasts and Little Paws videos.
Absolutely. And thank you for joining us for this one, because this one we've been waiting a while to cover. We wanted to finish it before we actually talked about it. When we first watched the premiere episode, I really absolutely loved it from the first viewing. I think it took you a few more episodes to actually get into.
Yeah, to, make sure.
I like the colors. It's so beautiful. Look at, so pretty. Reminds you of watercolors. And there's such softness. And except for the scenes where they have the grotesqueries and so forth. Everything's got soft colors and just really beautiful to look at. And this particular series is based not only on a light novel that was 7 volumes, but also a manga that was only 4 volumes, written by Akumi Agatogi. So before seeing this anime series, we actually were not familiar with this at all.
Right. Period. Because we thought that this was originally something that Netflix made up, like some of the original anime, and they're not based off of anything, and if they are, there's stuff that's really low-key obscure and they're easy to attain rights to do animes for. But we were surprised to see that this already had a manga, much like with Oku.
And before the actual anime series came out on Netflix in July, that was 12 episodes. There was actually a live-action film that premiered March 17th of this year, almost 120 minutes, and that one was written by Tomoe Kano. We haven't seen that one.
Right.
I haven't seen anything about it, but I would be willing to take a look at it after watching this anime.
Right.
So, a second season has been announced. We're really happy about that.
Right.
We weren't sure how they were going to end it, and we didn't know there was even going to be a second season because, again, the light novel is only 7 volumes and the manga's 4.
Right.
So we don't know if it's going to be all new content created specifically for the anime, or if they're actually going to be stretching out the storyline from the books themselves.
Right. So with this, we end up seeing something new, and we originally thought it was only going to be maybe 6 episodes because Netflix has been cutting down the amount of episodes the show has, and sometimes that involves the main rush. However, with this, we ended up finding out that it was going on longer than 6, so this would have been covered much sooner till we found out it was gonna keep continuing for the next few weeks. So this one has been definitely a long time coming.
And lastly but not leastly, before we get into the story of the anime and its characters, one main reason we really were interested in continuing with it because we learned that Ryan Colt Levy was voicing the character of Kasui Tatsuishi.
Yes.
And we were so excited. And then it was funny because while we were watching it, in one of the episodes, another character came up, and I was listening to him, Saruki, and I said, that sounds like Ryan Colt Levy, but it can't be because he's doing Tatsuki.
Right.
It can't be him. And then we get to the end credits, and sure enough, it was Ryan Colt Levy doing another voice. I was like, yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
And then later on, toward the end of the season, especially the last episode, when you see the hooded figures, you can hear him again.
Right.
So he really got to portray some different characters in here. He was fantastic as all of them, and we kept saying, okay, we got good Ryan Colt Levy and even Ryan Colt Levy, but at the end, Saruki wasn't as evil as you thought he was gonna be, unless he just pulls some more out the second season. But it was funny because his 2 characters are like opposite ends of the spectrum.
Right.
So that was fun, and it really made us enjoy this series more. So quickly, some other voice actors who appeared, Miranda Parkin, whom we're not familiar with, but we are familiar with Damian Haas, and Cedric Williams, who was Godo. We were happy to see him.
Know him.
Joe Hernandez and Felicia Angel, who we really don't see it a lot, but we know she does a lot of voice acting.
Right.
So that being said, the synopsis for this particular anime takes place in an alternate universe of the 19th century Meiji Restoration.
You're right.
So in this era, you got spirits and magic are real, but in decline, and then Mio Samori has been treated like a servant by the family, by her father and his new wife, I should say, or her stepmom, and the sister that the dad and the mom had, not knowing that she's originally from the Usaba family, or part of the Usaba family, and she has these gifts that are off the charts that this family is known for.
Right. And this becomes a huge part of the story because it looks like the status of power of the family is based on how many members have spiritual powers. And the main thing you want to do is marry off, the original plan is marry off both daughters to somebody to keep the bloodline going, the magic going. But only one has the powers, and they show them as kids. One is showing the powers, the other one didn't. So the one who had powers, they treated like royalty. But the one who didn't, they treated like dirt. There was another way to put it. She was treated like dirt horribly by all three of them. Told she was worthless just about every single day. Anyone who tried to help her was immediately removed from the house. I mean, this was just straight up emotional abuse for where she was living, and you could understand why, you know, you were happy when she was no longer in there, because none of those characters were having any redeeming qualities about them. There's no chance for them to learn from their mistakes, like Fruit Basket and Change. They were all just terrible people.
Yeah. There's no nice way of putting it. They were. And she was in love with, although you never saw it, but you could tell from what was being conveyed that she was in love with Koji and he was in love with her. And then they ruined it all by having him be engaged to her horrible sister, her horrible younger sister. And then they thought they were doing her disservice and getting rid of her by sending her to marry Lord Kudo.
Right.
And he ended up being really... Of course we knew he was going to be this wonderful guy, because you looked at him, you saw him, and Rascal said, okay, we know he's not going to be how they're making out to be. They're saying that he's ruthless and he's cold and so forth.
He'll be a tsundere, that's it. It's like, here we go.
So Kyoka Kudo is who they paired her with and we're going to marry her off to. And they honestly thought that due to the reputation he had, they would be cruel to her as they were, and she would have an unhappy life. Well, as fate has it and anime has it, he ended up liking her because she was the opposite of all these other girls he'd been engaged to before.
Right.
She's 19. She's still, as you said, acting kind of subservient, and she was shy and afraid, and she's just being browbeaten.
Right.
And everything she did, she apologized for. And the more he was around her and saw that she was not like these other girls who wanted money, who were not nice, not polite, they just women he didn't want to marry, he would just say, I don't want them, send them back.
Right.
He ended up falling for her. And he could tell that there was something wrong in how she behaved and how she was treated. Then he had Godo do background on her and find out all the truth about her lineage as well as how they treated her, and he just wanted to be kind to her and show her kindness and love. He's 27 and she's 19, so he was more worldly, and he also has a gift. His gift is pyrokinetic.
Okay.
So he can use all these powers and just take down enemies, and he was a swordsman as well as a pyrokinetic.
Right.
And when he found out she was a Usaba, but she didn't display any powers, he was surprised. And then he found out that the Saimoris,
I think you're right, yeah.
no, not Saimoris, the Tatsuishis wanted to have her marry into their family instead and marry the one she was in love with because she had dream sight. And suddenly the younger sister, who was a cow, no longer wanted to be with him. She really wanted to marry him because she knew that Mio loved him. But after she saw Kudo and how gorgeous he was, and his rank and his personality, and he was wealthy, and all of a sudden she's like, oh, wouldn't you rather marry him instead?
No.
And you can have this one here, and I'll take Lord Kudo. You know that's better for you. Tell him you don't want him, and then I'll marry him. It's like,
what? Yeah, it was like, what is wrong with you people?
And the Tatsuishis, they were just some of the most horrible people you ever want to meet, except for Kazushi, who's voiced by Ryan Colt Levy, and the son. But all the others, including the father, were just horrible. They didn't care what they did in order to get what they wanted. They even resorted to releasing the grotesqueries just so they could have their way in getting her to marry into their family, because they wanted the Usuba line in power.
Right. And they were asking, why do you want her? She has no powers, no signs of it, but there's still a chance. Even though you made a mistake, there's still a chance you could have it, just an extremely late bloomer. So there was still an opportunity for them to get that. So they were doing everything they could to get her. And the lengths they were going to, I mean, they were literally doing anything. Even if it meant like conjuring things and stuff, they were doing it. And it was like, these people are crazy when it comes to power. And the family line also was crazy too, because you found out for the ones with these powers, some of them were kind of marrying distant relatives so they could stay having magic powers and still having the bloodline, which I think might be why some of them weren't making it.
Which gets to the interesting part of this story where Mio ends up meeting Arata Saruki, voiced by Ryan Colt Levy, who we learn is actually her cousin, and he's also an Usuba. Now, he's not a distant cousin, he's her first cousin.
Yeah,
and he told her when they got her to the house, they said they're the only ones who could help her because she was having these nightmares, and they told her Lord Kudo, he couldn't help her, but they could help her. Then when she got there, you can't leave. And we knew it was coming. We just knew it was coming. He suddenly told her, well, I'm going to end up marrying you. Like, but that's your first cousin.
Yeah, it's like, it's your cousin.
But we have to keep this power in our line. It's the only way we can maintain power. And it's a way for us to stay above everyone else. And if we lose the Usuba powers, and then we'll be into ruin, and we're like, the hell is evil Ryan Colt Levy.
Yeah, and then it's like, this is why you don't have a lot of family members left in your family line. You know what we're talking about. Like, this is why they were getting sick.
Yeah. So later on, you find out more of her backstory and what happened to her mom. The Emperor is a really horrible person. And you also find out that her cousin is not as evil as you think he is toward the end. And Arata.
Yeah.
And it ends up having a really pleasant ending. I don't know if they're going to throw some more drama in for season 2 because they're not married yet, but if you haven't seen it, these are spoilers. So Mio has accepted Lord Kudo's proposal of marriage. She said she will marry him, and she's dressed real beautifully at the end. And we want them to be happy ever after, but there's going to be a second season, so most likely there isn't going to be a happy ever after yet. And we know that Arata is probably going to still try to marry her. He left and said that he was just going to go his way, but I kind of don't think that's what's going to happen. What I did like is the grandfather, her mom's dad, Yoshiro Usuba. He realized how wrong he was for treating the mom the way he did, and she ran away, and he never saw her again. And now that he's got contact with Mio, he apologized for all he did to the mom and for what happened to her, and that he wasn't around. And he sincerely seems to want to be in her life and be a grandfather. So that was a plus too, because all of her connections were coming from Lord Kudo's house and the woman who helped to take care of her before the dad got rid of her when he remarried. So now she actually has a blood relative who can now show her kindness as well and show her that people can change if they want to.
Right.
So I thought that was a good part that they added to the story.
Right.
But this is absolutely gorgeous to look at. Interesting story, interesting characters, great voice actors. Lord Kudo's hot. And if you haven't seen this, it's really one you should see. I know when you hear My Happy Marriage, you probably think it's going to be syrupy and saccharine and overly sweet. It's nothing like that. It's totally the opposite.
Yeah.
But you see a developing love story within it, which is really sweet.
Right.
So if you've seen My Happy Marriage, let us know what you think in the comments below. Did you love it? Did you like it? Did you think it was meh? Let us know what you think. And if you haven't seen it, it's exclusively on Netflix to stream.
Yep.
Watch it. You won't be disappointed. Come back and let us know what you think.
Right. And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates, movie videos, favorite anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Absolutely. If you happen to have read the light novel or the manga or seen the live action film, let us know in the comments below. We'd really be interested in hearing about these different media for it as well. And stay tuned for us covering season 2 because we're absolutely going to cover it. No release date is yet with the strike just ending, but hopefully we'll get some news on that soon.
Right.
Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate you so much.
Yes. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Rask Entertainment.
And then Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.
And reporters sitting flashing lights, trying to walk around, man, who the hell are you? What you wanna do? Well, man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. Met her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket.